Good day everyone, especially to our subject teacher, Ma'am Ruth Sapal, and classmates. Before we formally start our virtual reporting, allow us to introduce ourselves first. My name is Aladin Jaman Masdal.
My name is Julian A. Malunok.
My name is Mona Lisa M. Mama.
I am by Kiking Til Mambas.
My name is Juhaira K. Madali.
I am Rashid E. Manto.
My name is Ms. Zulban Mama.
And my name is Bainati Manalasan.
And my name is Siti Hasha G. Mahmoud.
And my name is Hadana Malidas.
And today, we would like to present our report, the continuation of Group 1, which is the Lesson 2. And we have 3 lessons to discuss: the market global integration, the global interstate system, and the contemporary global governance. First, the global market integration. Market integration is a term that is used to identify a phenomenon in which market of goods and services that are somehow related to one another being to experience similar pattern of increase or decrease in a term or prices of those products. The term can also refer to a situation in which prices of related goods and services sold in defined a geographical location and also begin to move in some sort of similar pattern to one another. So, ang market integration ay nangyayari pag ang prices sa mga different location or related goods ay sumusunod sa magkaparehong pattern over a long period of time. Kumbaga, global market integration nagkakaroon ng social economic to sustain, gaya ng halimbawa sa Pilipinas, mayaman tayo sa banana pero sa China wala at naaapektuhan yung economic nila kasi isa sa mga kailangan sa bansa nila yung banana. So, sa global integration may social economic, kumbaga nagkakaroon ng partnership like between Philippines at China. May partnership tayo na nag-produce tayo ng banana doon to sustain their problem sa economic. And we have 3 effects of integration of market development. Market integration provides opportunity to expand market coverage by selling local product in the global market. Nagbibigay daan ang market integration upang mas mapalawak ang maabot ng local product at maging available ito global, which could also help promote local industries. Second, market integration help to reduce market failure. It helps to reduce market failure kasi ang integration of markets ay nagkakatulong upang na i-provide akma ng pangangailangan ng specific na lugar depending sa needs. So mabalance niya lang yung supply at demand. The last, difference in the prices in integrated market should be equal if they are well integrated. One effect of integration on market development is to ensure that the price are of the same calibration of range para ma-hit ang goal na maging accurate ang pag-integrated ng market.
Good afternoon everyone. I am Julian E. Malunok and I will present the International Financial Institution. When we say International Financial Institution, or we call it IFIS, are institutions that provide financial support via grants and loans for economic and social development activities in developing countries. Sila yung mga bangko or even yung mga institution na nagpapautang para lang mag-develop yung mga businesses ng isang countries o ng isang bansa. And they provide loans, grants, and technical assistance to governments as well as loans to private businesses investing in developing countries. And lastly, they also play a significant role in the privatization and regulation of public utilities and natural resources. These multilaterals share a mission of combating poverty. So, Paano ba nakakatulong ang pagkakaroon ng privatization para labanan yung kahirapan? Okay. When we say privatization kasi, is describe yung process by which a piece are being owned by privately katulad ng mga Meralco. It generally helps yung government to save money tapos increase din yung efficiency or private companies can more goods quicker and more efficiency kasi sila yung gumagastos tapos hindi na yung gobyerno at hindi na yung dagdag na pasanin pa sa government officials or even workers. Through international financial institution, sila talaga yung nagpapautang para lang magkaroon ng regulation doon sa public utilities kasi pag hindi na kayang suportahan ng gobyerno, di ba? Kung wala ng budget, why are they still going to keep that type of business? Kaya mas maganda talagang gawin na lang siyang privatization, ipasa na lang doon sa mga tao na may kakayahan or mas maraming time and budget to support kaysa naman pabayaan or i-delete na lang. Example nun is yung mga Meralco. Kung hindi na talaga kayang suportahan, hindi naman pwedeng walang kuryente or tubig sa bansang Pilipinas, diba? Kaya need talaga ng privatization. And ito talaga yung kagandahan ng international financial institution na to kasi nagpapaloan sila tapos may mga technical assistance. Imagine guys, especially during this pandemic, maraming private businesses na pwedeng magsara kasi sobrang liit ng kita at through international financial institution, nagkakaroon sila ng tendency to still continue their business through loans na and grants technical assistance.
Good day, everyone. My name is Monalisa Mamangan, and let's talk about the International Monetary Fund. International Monetary Fund, IMF. The goal of the International Monetary Fund is microeconomic stability for both members, nations, and more generally. So, the International Monetary Fund, IMF, is an organization of 190 countries working to foster global monetary cooperations, secure financial stability, facilitate international trade, promote high employment and sustainable economic growth, and reduce poverty around the world. World Bank. The World Bank, officially the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD, specialized agency of the UN, is the most important element of the World Bank Group. WBG, the International Bank for Reconstruction Development, was established in 1944 at Bretton Woods and began operations in 1946. The member state of the International Monetary Funds and opportunities across political boundaries because a global corporation is more invested in its overseas locations. Ang World Bank ay isang international na organisasyon na nag-aalok ng tulong sa pag-unlad ng mga bansa na nasa gitna ng kita at mababang kita na itinatag noong 1944. Ang World Bank ay mayroong 189 na membro ng bansa at naglalayong bawasan ang kahirapan sa pag-unlad ng mundo. Habang ang World Bank Group ay nagsusumikap na lumikha ng isang daigdig na walang kahirapan, may mga grupo na marubrob na sumasalungat sa international na patron dahil sa pakiramdam ng mga kritiko na ang pagsisikap nito ay talagang nagpapalala sa mga bagay. Ang International Monetary Fund ay ipinanganak bilang isa sa mga institusyon ng kasunduan ng Bretton Woods Conference ng 1944 at isang dalubhasang organo ng United Nations na pangunahing layunin ay tulungan ang paglago ng mga ekonomiya ng mga estado. Attributes of global corporations. Global corporation is one that has significant investment and policies in multiple countries and lack a dominant headquarters. Global corporations are governed by the laws of the country where they are incorporated. A global business connects its talent, resources, and opportunities across political boundaries because a global corporated is more invested in its overseas location. A global corporation, also known as a global company, is coined from the base term global, which means all around the world. It makes sense to assume that a global company is company that has does business all over the world. And that's all. Thank you.
I'm going to identify the institution that governs international relations. International relations, IR, international studies, IA is international affairs, IA is the scientific study of interaction between sovereign states. In a broader sense, it concerns all activities between states such as war, diplomacy, trade, and foreign policy, and relations with and among other international actors. International relations can be defined as political activities and other kinds and aspect of interaction among two or more states. The academic field of international relations is a branch of political science that is concerned with the study of relations between states, the foreign policy of nation-state, and the mechanisms and institutions such as international organization, intergovernmental organization, international and national non-governmental organization, and multinational corporations through which states interact. The study of international relations involved many subjects, such as international and regional peace and security, international organization, nuclear proliferations, globalization, human rights, economics, development intervention, international financial relations, and international trade relations. Ang international relations ay maaaring tukuyin bilang mga gawaing pampolitika at iba pang mga uri at aspeto ng pakikipag-ugnayan sa pagitan ng dalawa o higit pang mga estado. Ang akademikong larangan ng international relations ay isang sangay ng agham pampolitika na may kinalaman sa pag-aaral ng mga relations sa pagitan ng mga estado, patakarang panlabas ng mga bansang estado at mga mekanismo at institusyon tulad ng international na organisasyon, intergovernmental organization, international at pambansa, non-governmental organization, at multinational corporation, kung saan nakikipag-ugnayan ang mga estado. Ang pag-aaral ng international na relation ay nagsasangkot ng maraming mga paksa tulad ng international at regional na kapayapaan at seguridad, international na organisasyon, paglaganap ng nuclear, globalization, karapatang pantao, pag-unlad ng ekonomiya, interbensyon, international na relasyon sa pananalapi, at international na relasyon sa kalakalan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm by Kicking Tail Mambas. Today, I want to discuss the nation state. Okay, let's the state. State a compulsory political organization with continuous operation if and insofar as its administrative staff successfully upholds a claim on the monopoly of the legitimate use of physical force and the enforcement of its orders. So, ang monopoly, siya lang may kapangyarihan na mag-govern sa sarili niyang bansa. Naging state or kinukonsider na state ang isang bansa kapag kaya na niya or kapag may sarili na silang pamahalaan or kaya na niyang pamunuan ang sarili niyang bansa. Okay, let's the nation. Nation emphasize the organic ties that hold group of people together and inspire a sense of loyalty, So for example, Philippines, it is the nation. Why? Because we have our own or the different. For example, Bicolano, Ifugao, Ilocano, like that. And sa language naman, local language, different language. Sa Region 5 is Bicolano. Sa Ilocos is Ilocano. Sa Visayas naman is Bisaya. Sa mga Tagalog people like ganun. And sa religious naman, we have a different religious. Also, ang religion ng bansa natin is Roman Catholic, Muslim, Christian, some of them. Popular religion have the Philippines. Okay. Nation state can manipulate competitive advantage with international and political issues, transnational civil society organization, and multinational companies. Nation state is ito yung the government. So ang government na yan, sila yung may kakayahang magmanipula or magkontrol ng mga issues or mga national issues na kinakaharap ng kanilang bansa. Like for example, yung mga papasok na investor, mga companies or mga business. Sila yung may karapatang mag-escorting eyes kung sino lang pwedeng pumasok dito or mag-establish dito ng business. Okay, next. They are also accountable for a host of international norms and standards, find themselves in subordinate position to protect their economy, and face new kinds of pressures of supranational integration and focus of local fragmentation. So, ang ibig sabihin ng subordinates, ito siya ay last important. So, ginagawa nila or gina-assign nila sarili nila for government para sa kabubuti ng kanilang nasasakupan. And when we say supranational, that means involving more than one country. And that's all. Thank you.
Good day everyone, I'm Ms. Zulban Mama. Let's talk about the effects of globalization on government. These are the effects of globalization on government. The first is political globalization, nation-state and intergovernment organizations. The end of the nation-state institution governing international relations. Ating alamin kung ano nga ba ang epekto ng globalisasyon sa government. Political globalization. Nation-states, the primarily actors in this system, engage in diplomatic relations, partly in the context of regional and global intergovernmental organizations. Nation-states and IGOs consult with are lobbied by transnational corporations and non-government organizations. NGOs in particular have distinct interaction with IGOs such as the United Nations, where they play both an advisory role and take on activities such as relief, environmental protection, and protection of human rights. Okay. So ito ay makabagong desisyon, strategy ng isang mamumuno na umiiral sa politika na maaring makaapekto sa desisyon ng ibang kasalukuyang namumuno sa isang bansa. Dahil sa globalisasyon, mas madali ang pakikipag-ugnayang politikal ng iba't ibang mga bansa, mga pamahalaan, mga samahan, at mga organisasyon sa buong mundo. Nation-states and intergovernmental organization. Nation-states engage in international relations to establish trade, maintain boundaries, enforce rules, settle disputes, manage migration, and etc. Most of these tasks were historically accomplished through negotiation among representatives of two or more states. During the last 2 centuries, however, nation-states, IGOs have formed large intergovernmental organizations. IGOs that are now responsible for many of these tasks. The international organization has more impact on the government. International organization emphasize the rights of the individual, and the nation-state emphasizes the government's responsibility to the country. It depends on who has greater power. And if international organizations have more power, then there will be more international interest and it will have more impact on the government. If the nation-state has more power, then the citizens drive the economy and the nation-state will have more impact on the government. The end of the nation-states. Arguably, the power of the nation-state is waning, while still the major actors in international relations and sovereign with their own terrorists. Countries are increasingly divesting themselves of responsibility for their citizens' welfare. Transnational corporations are taking on former state responsibilities through privatization and corporatizations, profiting from providing public goods like water, healthcare, agriculture products, and education. Globalization also creates a sense of interdependence among nations, which could create an imbalance of power among nations of different economic strengths. The role of the nation-state in the global world is largely regulatory one as the chief factor in global interdependence. Okay. Ang papel ng bansang estado sa isang pandaigdigang mundo ay higit sa lahat ay isang regulasyon bilang pangunahing salik sa pandaigdigang pagtutulungan. Bagamat ang lokal na tungkulin ng nation-state ay nananatiling hindi nagbabago, ang mga estado na dating nakahiwalay ay napipilitan na ngayong makipag-ugnayan sa isa't isa upang magtakda ng mga international patakaran sa komersyo. Institution governing international relations. International institutions form a vital part of contemporary international relations. They are the central focus of policy-making efforts around the world. These are organizations with international membership, scope or presence. As mentioned in the other chapter, we have the International Non-Government Organization. Okay. These are the examples of institutions governing international relations. The first is Association of Professional Schools of International Affairs. Second, Global Studies Consortium. In the third, International Studies Association. The fourth is the Jadavpur Association of International Relations. And the last, Swedish Association of International Affairs. And that's all. Thank you.
Hi, good day everyone. I'm Hadana Malidas. Internationalism versus globalism. Defining internationalism and globalism. Internationalism. Internationalism is a political which transcends nationalism and advocates a greater political or economic cooperation among nations and people. Ang internasyonalismo, ito ay isang pampolitika na lumalampas sa mga nasyonalismo at nagtataguyod ng higit na pampolitikang kooperasyon, pang-ekonomiya sa mga bansa at sa mga tao. Globalism is a group of ideologies that advocate the concept of globalization. It tends to advocate to such policies as increases on immigration, interventionism, and global governance. Ang globalismo naman ay ito ay isang grupo ng mga ideolohiya na nagtatagoy ng mga konsepto ng globalisasyon ng posibilidad na isulang ang naturang patakaran tulad ng pagtaas ng imigrasyon at interventionismo at pandaigdigang pamamahala. Differentiating internationalism and globalism. Although the terms may appear to be similar, yet there exists conceptual difference between the two. Globalism is much more wider terms of its meaning, scope, and outcome. Ang globalismo ay mas malawak na mga termino ng sakla at kinakalabasan ng kahulugan nito. Internationalism lays stress on the solidarity and cooperation among the nations while acknowledging their sovereign character. Ang internationalismo naman ay ito ay nagbibigay diin sa pagkakaisa at pagtutulungan ng mga bansa habang kinikilala ang kanilang soberanya. Globalism not only emphasize the dilution of the sovereign expression of the nations, but demonstrate the conflicts arising out of this dilution as well. Hindi binibigyang diin ang pagbabato ng soberanong pagpapahayag ng bansa, ngunit ipinakita rin ang mga salungatan na nagmumula sa pagbabato nito. This, however, does not mean that globalism is a negative concept, because surrender of national sovereignty to some extent is an aim to moderate the barriers to international exchange. Gayunpaman, ito ay hindi nangangahulugan ang globalismo ay isang negatibong konsepto dahil ang pagsuko ng bansang katahimikan sa ilang mga lawak ay isang upang i-moderate ang mga hadlang sa international na palitan. However, tends to dominate the scenario while the countries seek cooperation for international threat and respect each other's independence in decision making, yet it is often the southern nations that have to compromise their national interests. May posibilidad din na mangibabaw sa ang lahat ng mga bansa ay naghahanap ng korporasyon para sa international na kalakalan at iginagalang ang kalayaan ng isa't isa. Internationalism. Political principles that advocates greater political or economic cooperation among the states and nations. It is associated with other political movements and ideologies, but can also reflect a doctrine, belief system, or movement itself. Mga prinsipyong pampolitika na nagtataguyod ng mga higit na kooperasyong pampolitika o pang-ekonomiya sa pagitan ng mga estado at sa bansa na nauugnay ito sa iba pang mga kilusang pampolitika. Globalism. Focus on creating one united government. Priority of the international central governing body is emphasized. Example, Commonwealth of Nations. It is headed by UK only. Internationalism. It is focused on joint corporation rather than headed by one body. Priority of the national government. There are equal restrictions applied to participating nations. Example, Asian Coalition. Annual restriction of countries as head. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon, classmates. I am Rashid Imanto. I'm going to report about the contemporary global governance. Our learning objectives are identify the roles and function of the United Nations. Identify the challenges of global governance. Explain the effect of global governance to nation state. What is governance? It is defined as establishment of policies and continuous monitoring of their implementation by members of the governing body. In other words, it is a system by which entities are directed and controlled. Napapaloob dito ang proseso para sa paggawa ng desisyon, mga batas, accountability, control, and behavior. At the top of governing body, halimbawa nito yung sa ating governance. Yung BARM, governance, or Bangsamoro, autonomous, region, and Muslim. Mindanao kung saan tayo ay nabigyan ng pagkakataon mamala sa ating region. Base dito ang sistemang gobyerno ng Bangsamoro ay parlamentaryong demokratiko. Mula nang naitatag ito, prioridad ng pinuno natin ang moral governance. What is global governance? According to Karma and Means, collection of governance-related activities, rules and mechanisms, formal and informal, existing at a variety of levels in the world today. Ang goal po ng global governance ay makapagbigay ng global public goods, particular ang kapayapaan, seguridad, hustisya at mga sistema para sa conflict. Mayroong gumaganang merkado or markets at standard for trade and industry. What are the importance of global governance? Humanity faces problems and opportunities that are global in scale. Globalization creates opportunities but also vulnerabilities, for example, cyber race, climate change, epidemics, and conflicts. Transnational problems such as violence and pandemics reach the world, affecting us all. For example, yung COVID-19 na virus na kinaharap natin ngayon, one importance global governance is we are able to produce well health guidelines and protocols from World Health Organizations or everybody is following it. Effecting global governance will allow us to end armed conflicts. For example, sa case ng Ukraine at Russia conflict, meron sigurong international agreements na makapag-end nito through effective global governance.
Good day everyone, my name is Bainati Menalasa reporting Rules and Functions of United Nations. Okay, before we start, we have objectives. Learning objective. What is the roles and functions of United Nations? 2. Identify the roles and functions of United Nations. So, let's talk about rules and functions of United Nations. So what is United United Nations has made significant contribution in the areas of conversations of environment, right of children, and empowerment of human. So in 1992, the organizations of the Earth Summit was an important step in the effort for the protections of environment. So napapaloob dito yung kalikasan natin. In these conferences, some of the issues were discussed, like the depletions of the ozone layer, protections of forests, and etc. So nakasali rin dito yung mga Women's Day. Okay, next. So the United Nations organizations, popularly known as the United Nations or the UN, is an international association committed to maintaining world peace and security. So, mahalaga talaga ang United Nations sa ating bansa kasi ito is minimaintain nila yung mga peace ng bawat isang bansa or seguridad para ma-secure. Okay. The United Nations has different methods to resolve international disputes, conflicts, and disagreement. So we have peaceful methods and methods of direct actions. So what peaceful methods, when we say peaceful methods are used by United Nations to resolve conflicts, well, so when we say peaceful method, it is called preparation or planning, engage, and explain, account, closure, and evaluate to ensure peaceful. Under the peace method, investigators allow the suspect to his or her story without interruptions before presenting the suspect with any inconsistence or contradiction between the story or other evidence. Okay, next. The UN uses the method of direct action when the issues are not resolved by the peaceful method. So, gumagawa ang UN ng method of direct actions when yung issue na hindi na-resolve ng peaceful method is, kumbaga, yun yung nagsasalo method of direction. So, the UN has put forward many proposals to protect the environment. So malaking tulong din talaga ang itong program, United Nations Organization, because ito is parang malaking kahalagan sa kanila ang pag-protect sa mga kalikasan. Next. In 1972, a conference was organized at Stockholm, Sweden. So let's proceed now to the main bodies of United Nations. So main organs of United Nations. So we have 6 main organs of United Nations: the General Assembly 1, the Security Council, the Secretaries, the Trusteeship Council, and the Economic and Social Council, and last but not the least, the International Court of Justice. So all of that were established the UN Charter when the organization was founded in 1945. So let's proceed. So what is the main goals of the UN? So according to my research, the main goals of the UN and objectives of UN are the maintenance of peace and security, the promotion of well-being of the peoples of the world, and the international cooperations to this. So the United Nations Development Program is the UN Global Development Network, focusing on the challenges of democratic governance. Another one is poverty reductions, crisis prevention, and recovery. And the last.
Hey everyone, I am Siti Hasha Mahmoud. Today, I will present to you the report that I prepared. I will tackle to all of you the challenges of global governance in the 21st century. But first, we have the learning outcomes. The learning outcomes. By the end of the chapter, I must be able to first, identify the rules, second, identify the challenges of global governance, and third, explain the effect of global governance to nation state. So what is governance? Governance, establishment of policies and continuous monitoring of their implementation by members of governing body. Global governance, collection of governance-related activities, rules, and mechanisms, formal and informal, existing at variety of levels in the world today. In other words, global governance, it encompasses activities that transcend national boundaries at the international, transactional, and regional levels, is based on rights and rules that are enforced through a combination of economic and moral incentives. We have challenges and issues in 21st century society. Those are the hunger, poverty, climate change, population, pollution, floods, droughts, heat waves, and food security are all related to each other. All this can be solved by increasing awareness, education, by increasing research and use of better environment-friendly alternatives. The key challenges of globalization are diffuse and outside the control of any one state. In its most ambitious and forward-looking form, global governance seeks to create an international social fabric, albeit imperfect, which cumulatively amounts to more than the sum of its parts. So these are the challenges of global governance. At the beginning of the century, threats such as ethnic conflicts, infectious disease, and terrorism, as well as a new generation of global challenges, including climate change, energy security, food and water scarcity, international migration flow, and new technologies are increasingly taking center stage. Role of global governance in international relations. Global governance refers to institutions that coordinate the behavior of transitional actors, facilitate cooperation, resolve disputes, and alleviate collective action problems. Global governance broadly entails making, monitoring, and enforcing rules. Responsible sovereignty. This principle recognizes the policy cooperation is the best way to achieve national interests in the global public domain. It also requires government and state to be fully respectful of sovereignty of other nations so as to fulfill agreed policy outcomes. Responsible sovereignty is the most important principle of global governance. These are the effects of global governance in 21st century. Effective global governance will allow us to end armed conflict, deal with new and emerging problems such as technological risk and automation, and to achieve the levels of prosperity and progress never before seen. The most important challenge for humanity to overcome is that of existential risk.